Here we go, here we go, here we go. Peace, peace and black power, black family. We are here. We are live. Hold on, let me get something real quick. Peace and black power to the family. Listen, tonight, man, listen. Tonight we going deeper than Instagram. We going deeper than Instagram tonight. Shout out to my brother in Jamaica. Shout out to the God Dilly Dallas. Shout out to the Haitian family. Okay, shout out to the Foundational Black American family. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So you like the shirt. Shout out to the family at NYC Dope on Arrival, okay? I only accept apologies in the form of reparations. That's something we live by. I don't want no white tears. I'm not looking for no hugs, okay? I'm not looking to sit down and eat potato salad with some of these white folks. I only accept apologies in the form of reparations. But listen, tonight we got a master teacher coming on here tonight, family. Master teacher, we all know him, we all love him. Professor Kaba. And family, tonight I want y'all to show love and give Baba Kaba his flowers while he's here, family. And let me go ahead, because what I want to do tonight is we want to go ahead and put his Cash App up. We want to go ahead and put his PayPal. And tonight our challenge is I want everybody in the room to put at least $10 on the master teacher's Cash App or PayPal. If you're international, you're probably going to have to do PayPal. If you're in the United States, of course you can do Cash App or PayPal. But that's what I want the family to do tonight. Let me go ahead and pin this real quick. Y'all give me 2 minutes to pin the Cash App. And then we're going to bring the master teacher on, okay? Let me go ahead and pin it because I know people, y'all gonna keep asking, what's the Cash App? What's the Cash App? So let me go ahead and pin it real quick for the family. We have to support our master teachers, okay? All the game he's given us over the years, we have to support. Hold on, I'm pinning it now, family. Let me go ahead and pin it. Okay, PayPal. Let me go ahead and pin it real quick. 1 second. Okay. And I'm going to also put the website up too, family. Well, I'm just tell you about the website because it's not going to let me pin all of that. So let's go ahead and boom, right there. Let's go ahead and pin that comment. But like I say, let's give it another 1 minute. I'm going to let everybody get in here because like I say, we're going deeper than Instagram tonight, family. Tonight we're talking Before the Mayflower. Before the Mayflower tonight, family. So we're going to go deeper than Instagram. We're going to go deeper than the schools go tonight. As y'all know, family, they are putting Black History Month under attack. A lot of these states down in Florida, as y'all saw, a lot of these states are passing bills where if the history makes little white kids uncomfortable, they're saying you can't teach it anymore. Okay? A lot of white people have had their underwear in a bunch lately about critical race theory. So we gonna shatter all that tonight, okay? It's gonna be some people uncomfortable tonight. But we're gonna speak truth to power. We're bringing in the master teacher to put us up on game. The master teacher to put us up on game. Like I said, family, hit that Cash App. I'm going to go ahead, before it even starts, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off on the Cash App. I'm going to put 100 on there. So I'm challenging somebody to match me, family. I want everybody to put 10 on there, but I'm going to go ahead and put 100 on there now. Okay, and I'm going to show you so y'all know ain't no cap in my rap, okay? I'm going to go ahead and put 100 on there to kick it off. Like I said, it's important that we support our master teachers. It's important that we support our master teachers, okay? So let me go ahead and put 100 on there right now, okay? So I just put 100 on there right now, all right? To the master teacher, family. So everybody make sure you put 10. Now let's go ahead and bring on Baba because he's a very, very, very busy, you know, and we need to get straight into the hot fire. So let me go ahead and put on the headphones, family. Y'all get y'all notebooks ready, and we about to kick it off. We about to kick it off, family. So let me press, Baba, if you're listening, request to go live, Baba. If you're listening, let me see if I can find you in the live. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Yes, indeed. So the Cash App and the PayPal are pinned down below. They're pinned down below, family. I'm challenging everybody. We got 100 people. If 100 people send 10 right there, we want all 100 people to send at least $10 to the Cash App. Okay. Peace, Baba. Peace.
Peace to you, my brother Chase. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come on with the family and have this dynamic conversation, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your generosity and all that you do, brother. Much respect to you, to the fam. We are here to talk about some issues that we got to get down.
We got to get down, Baba, and it's an honor. You know, this is a late night session. I know both of us are late night people, you know, so I'm in my prime right now. I'm cooking on all cylinders around that 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock range. I'm cooking, you know, so that's, you know, this is a beautiful time, beautiful time. How is the family, Baba?
Everybody's doing excellent, brother. Everybody's carrying on and doing what they got to do. We're proud. We're happy. We're safe. We're sound. It's all good. I pray all is well with you and yours.
Absolutely. Same over here, Baba, and that's great to hear. But let's jump into it, Baba. So tonight, you know, we wanted to ask you questions. There's been a lot of talk and debate, even on the mainstream level. I know you've seen with a lot of the people in the dominant society and the government, they're kind of in the bunch about critical race theory and really going out of their way. They are really terrified of telling the truth, Baba. And we see that a lot. You know, so one of my things I want to ask you as my first question is, I've heard you say we have to start looking at history holistically versus in an episode. And I think that's big, especially when it comes to Black History Month. A lot of people start the history in America with 1619. And I've always heard you say that's an episode of history. And we don't look at things holistically. We don't look at things as a chain of events. So can you break down to the family the difference between looking at it holistically and as an episode?
What I mean by that is, let's look at the Moors. Let's take a live example of the Moors. And when we discuss the Moors, many times we talk of the time span of 711 to 1492, when Africans ruled Europe. To me, that's episodic. That's an episode. Because when you look at the African Moor as an episode, you then also allow history to be able to put people in that were not there, such as the Indo-European converts to Islam. And so then we get a concept of Moor, Muslim, Indo-European, and we get the impression that they built Timbuktu in West Africa. What we don't realize is if you step back and look at it holistically, what you understand that is somewhere around 5,000 BC, the Sahara Desert didn't exist.
Right.
And that all that area in North Africa was lush and plush with green things, growing things, rivers. And there was one particular river that started in the Atlas Mountains in Algeria and came down and emptied out into the west coast of Africa. It's called the Taman Rasset River. Now, fam, please allow me to spell. I'm a teacher. And I just don't want to say Taman Rasset, because if you want to do some research on this and you want to Google it, I want you to have the spelling. Tamanrasett. Tamanrasett. Taman Rasset River. And this river flowed from North Africa straight down to the west coast and emptied out into the west coast of Africa.
Right.
What we call southern Mauritania. But what we fail to realize is that somewhere around 5,000 BC on, there was it went from what's called an African humid phase to an African arid phase. which came about through the Ice Age.
Right.
That's how Africa was impacted by the Ice Age towards the end. What began to happen is that what was once a thriving, green, lush area now is going to become a desert.
Mm.
The evidence of this is the fact that you can find the sands of East Africa at Cape Timorous in West Africa.
Mm.
So the winds blew from the east to the west and emptied out into the Atlantic Ocean, what we call the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
But what's important is that somewhere in this area of the drying up of this land, Africans that were on the upper side of the Taman Rasset, they went north.
Mm-hmm.
Africans that lived on the other side of the Taman Rasset River, they moved south, specifically to southern Mauritania.
Okay.
When this happened, these Africans, hundreds of thousands of Africans, we don't know how many, they came down and they developed areas of settlements, such as Tangent and Cyprus. There's 4 major settlements that came down into southern Mauritania.
Okay.
And by 2,500 years before the Christian era, 2,500 BCE,
Mm-hmm.
those 4 settlements came together, synthesized, became a government.
Mm.
This government is what we today call ancient Ghana.
Right. Mm.
So that it wasn't called Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Ouagadougou.
Right.
W-A-G-A-D-U. It was called Ouagadougou because Ghana is the name of the king.
Okay.
Just like in the kingdom of Mali, the king's name was Mansa.
Right.
And when it went to Songhai, the king was called Askia.
Right. And it's
Ghana is not the name of the country.
right. And it's funny you say that, Baba, because we've been taught the 3 West African empires, like they just popped up. But you saying
Exactly.
It's a lot of things that culminated to become one of those 3. I know they always say the Ghana Empire, the Mali, then the Songhai, but they act like it just popped up out of nowhere.
That's right. And you know, Brother Chase, they also then slip in the Indo-European, what we call Arab, who converted to Islam.
Mm.
And then that's where you get the intentions that Timbuktu was built by them, as opposed to understanding Timbuktu was there hundreds of years before them. In fact, why they went there was because they heard about Timbuktu.
Right. Okay.
And it was built, run,
Mm-hmm.
educated, civilized by melanated people.
Right.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're talking about an episode. You see how we've just taken 2 episodes and connected them together holistically.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yes, sir.
Because you cannot understand West Africa if you don't understand what happened with the desiccation of the Sahara, the creation of the Sahara.
Right.
But the other piece, let's now go back to the Moors.
Okay.
It's hard to understand exactly how and who the Moors were, because they're going to slip some more Indo-Europeans in there and make you think that it was them that went into Europe.
Right.
But when the Africans that were on the northern side of the Taman Rasset River, they moved north.
Mm.
Countries like the northern part of Algeria,
Right.
Morocco, you know, they fanned over into Tunisia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's important about that is that the Africans that got into Tunisia, they settled in a place called Tunis.
Mm-hmm.
In the ancient world, Tunis was known as Carthage or Carthage.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? Now, when you go over to Morocco, you have kingdoms there in Africa. In particular, the Numidian kingdom.
Mm.
African. Remember the people that moved north in the Sahara Desert? These are the people we're talking about. These are African people.
Right.
Melanated, kinky hair, wide nose, thick lipped people.
Mm-hmm.
And they settled and created the Numidian civilization. The Numidian civilization in Morocco had a working relationship with Carthage.
Okay.
And so now you're talking about during the Punic Wars with the Romans.
Right. Right.
You're talking about thousands of years
Mm.
before. And there's evidence of Africa.
Uh-oh, Baba, we freezing.
Okay. How's it going now?
Hold on, we're freezing, Baba. We freezing. Uh-oh. We
Okay.
getting heavy,
Well, if
Baba.
I
It's starting to try to play. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're
oh,
back now. Go ahead.
okay, yeah, but no matter what happened, brother, we're gonna come
We're
back
gonna
no
come
matter
back.
what. So
Exactly. Exactly.
it's just a minor interruption,
Right,
brother.
right, right,
'Cause
right. Absolutely. We breaking down the history. They
we
freezing it. They getting nervous right now. We just warming up, Baba. We just
hey,
warming up.
and brother, absolutely, brother. And if I were them, I'd be nervous too, brother.
Right, right.
Because truth crushed the earth is coming is coming forward. And you see people say, like you speak truth to power. No, I don't speak truth to power.
Mm,
I speak because truth is power.
right, right, right.
I speak truth to the lie.
Mm,
And when someone tell a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
what we laying out right here is a holistic approach to understanding our history and not allowing the larger community to break us up into episodes where they can insert themselves.
Right, right.
There is a continuous royal civilization developing itself.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time that the pyramids are being built in Egypt, there are cities being built in Nigeria.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
See, we're getting caught up because, and I do believe that Kush Kemet is very beautiful, very exotic, and it has a great deal of material that is available to us to study.
Mm-hmm.
But Dr. Clark used to always tell me, don't get caught up in East Africa.
Right.
West Africa was just as great.
Mm-hmm.
The Luba and the Luongo people of Central Africa had civilization. The Monomotapa Empire. Although we look at it in Zimbabwe, there are a series of stone structures that go straight across to Angola and Namibia.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you appreciate about Kemet and Kush, realize the same dynamic thing is going on throughout the continent, and there is an interrelationship between these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book written by J. Lucas Olumide, Olumide.
Spell it one more time, Baba.
J. Period
Mm-hmm.
Lucas Lucas Olumide, Olumide.
Okay. Okay.
He wrote a book titled The Religions of the Yoruba.
Okay.
Where he traced the Orisha, the symbols of the Yoruba spiritual system. He traces it right back to Kemet. But he also shows where, while the Kush Kemet legacy went west, West Africans traveled east, and holistically speaking. But when you break it up into episodes, then you allow people to insert Indo-Europeans into Egypt and Kemet, make us think that there were Indo-Europeans in Kemet.
Mm-hmm.
And we know climatologically, if you sitting up there with nothing on top, okay, you ain't got no clothes on top and you got this little kilt on the bottom.
Right.
If you were the pigmentation of an Indo-European, you would have died of melanoma within the first 5 generations of your existence in the heat.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So they couldn't have looked like that.
Right. Right.
So that when we look at things holistically, then we can understand it from a far better perspective.
Right.
Because now you know who the Moors were.
Right.
Because we can trace the African presence in North Africa, and they trying to slip these Indo-Europeans in there. They just weren't there, brother.
Right. And this is strategic, you're saying. This is why they break it down into episodes.
That's
so
right.
We can come in, so we, for example, we understand the pyramids that are in Kemet now. If they put it into an episode, you just think somebody had to have come in and built these pyramids. But you don't go down to Nubia, places like that, and see the development of the technology being processed over thousands of years. So
absolutely. And you see, the cornerstone to understanding this is to understand what's called the ring tumuli.
Okay. Let me write that down.
R-I-N-G, ring. Tumuli is plural for tumulus, which is a Tumuli,
Okay. Okay.
which really are like they're sundials.
Mm.
And according to where the shadow is cast on the sundial, tells you what time of day it is.
Right.
And then the larger you built it, such as the pyramids, that tells you what season you're experiencing.
Right.
It's all about the shadow. But check this out. It was nature that taught us how to build pyramids.
Mm.
Earth already had mounds.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
And when the early Africans would look at the mound and they would see the shadow on the other side of the mound, which was there already. This was before pyramid building existed.
Mm-hmm.
What they began to realize is that as they looked at the mound and where the sun was shining on it, it told them what time of day it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started to manufacture their own mounds.
Mm.
And that's what became eventually the step pyramid and then the perfect pyramid.
Right. Right.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
So that when you look at the trial and error of why would pyramids come into existence, it ain't about no aliens coming down.
Right. Right.
It was straight up melanated people
Mm-hmm.
who looked at the nature, studied nature, came to understand certain things from nature, and they said, you know something, nature did it so good, I just want to try to replicate that.
Mm-hmm.
So as you travel from the south to the north,
Right.
you begin to see the perfection of the mounds, which become pyramids.
Right.
And then you see them all across the globe.
Right.
And they all go back to agricultural science.
Right. Mm.
Because the better you eat, the better you think.
Mm-hmm.
The better you think, the better you eat.
Mm.
And there's a cyclical, holistic approach towards the study of agriculture, developing a science out of it,
Right.
and being able to perfect your civilization. Because here's my question to anyone that's listening. If all the supermarkets and restaurants and places where you get your food were to close down, could you eat tonight?
That's a great question.
I'm going to give you an example. There was a sister that worked in the nutritional cafeteria, the staff of the school that I worked in. She and her sister owned a small home in the Bronx with a backyard, little backyard.
Right.
And they used to grow vegetables. And she knew, I was vegetarian. She knew I liked salads. She used to bring me salads from her garden.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's one example.
Right.
I have friends that work on Wall Street.
Mm.
They be kicking in this Boku bucks. They got cheddar on their cheese, bro.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They make a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And they live in a condominium, beautiful condominium. $200,000.
Right.
Now, if all of the Piggly Wigglies and all of the supermarkets, the Stop and Shops and the ShopRites and all the restaurants where we get our food were to close down, my question to you is, who is in a better position? Those two sisters that have a little garden in their background or in their backyard, or is the brother that got multi-bucks on Wall Street?
Right. It's the sister with her own garden, how to grow her own food.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you can eat, you can live,
Right.
even at the hardest times.
Mm. Right.
If you can eat and drink water, you got it going on.
Right. Right.
Okay? So that's my question about power
Mm.
and what we ought to be doing with our children.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about reparations, brother. I want the black farmers to get 400 miles and 80 mules.
Mm. Yes, indeed.
There's a website. It's called Black Owned Farms that I joined on Facebook.
Okay. Let me check it out.
And to follow the progress of black owned farms. I was in the process. I was invited to speak before the black mayors when they had their annual conference. And many of the mayors that I met there from down south, they had their own farms and they knew of farms. Alabama, Mississippi,
Right.
Georgia, Mm-hmm. And while I was there, I was talking about parental involvement and how they can bring it into the school. That's why I was there with them.
Yes, sir.
But in my conversations with them, I started developing a relationship with a lot of the brothers and sisters, the mayors, that I began to say, you know, our children in the Bronx, because I was in South Central Bronx, I said, you know, our children in the Bronx have no idea about how to get their hands dirty on the farm. I said, I'm interested in creating a relationship with farms down south where we can create like a camp for some of the young people in North Central, in South Central Bronx, where we can send them down to work on your farms. They said, that's great because we'll get extra hands on our farm to help us, and we'll teach them farming, and they'll be able to eat what they grow. That was where my mind was back in the 90s.
Right, that's power.
And I want to create a relationship with the black farmers where direct to our community, we can get food. That we can get trucks to come up, because they already come up, but I want it to be planned. Watermelon trucks come up. Sometimes they got trucks with collard greens on 138th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard.
Right.
Straight from the South. And I'm saying to empower our farmers to cultivate our children and to create a relationship to understand that economics does not mean money. The word echo comes from the Greek word oikos, which means home or environment. Economics really is tonomics, to know the wealth of your community.
Right.
And to be able to draw on that. That simultaneously with teaching our children solar power. Those two things will usher a whole new way of looking at the world holistically. The future wealth of the planet is solar power.
Right. I've heard you mention that before.
I say it all the time. You know, Brother Chase, I say, keep on keeping on.
Yes, sir.
It ain't over till we win.
Right.
And I've added the next one. Solar power is the future wealth of our planet.
Absolutely.
I'm going to holler that every time I get a chance.
Absolutely.
Because there'll be no air you can put at the end of your name. Can't call it millionaire, trillionaire, billionaire. There will be so much energy. A civilization is only as dynamic and strong as the source of its energy. We're going to have to get up off the fossil fuels.
Right.
We're going to have to get up off natural gas within the next 100 years.
Right.
Water power, wind power has their place. But not every place is windy and not every place got water. But every place got the sun.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay? And not only sun power, but brother, we got to look at star power, because, you know, you and I, like we talk, man, sometimes we be chopping it up 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I already know.
Okay.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of people that will say, well, you need to get up during the daytime to get the sun. And that's true. But at nighttime, you draw the energy of the stars. What makes me energetic at night is that my biocycle is on star systems. Your biosystem is on star systems.
Right.
And while we do need the sun as direct sunlight, that is true.
Right.
We also derive the power of the stars, and that's what makes us the way we are.
Yes, sir.
So we have to understand the science of the fact that however your biorhythm work, that's the way it is.
Absolutely.
My interest in astronomy, my interest in stars started when I was a child.
Right.
And that was drawing me to the star power. And you see the Dogon. You see the ancient African in Kush Kemet. You see them in all over Africa, where you have astronomers and they say, but, you know, there's no evidence that they had microscopes or telescopes, but they did. But
right.
I'll leave that for another day.
Right.
But, you know, when you're in a room that's dark, right, totally dark, and someone turns a light on, you close your eyes.
Right.
Because in the dark, your iris opens up to the size. You know, that little hole in the middle of your eye, right. Your iris opens up, okay, wide in the dark. So when you turn the light on, you got to close your eyes because your eyes got to go down 1/4 of its size before it can allow light to go in. The ancient astronomers were like you and I, with various differences. They lived in the dark. During the day, when the sun, they would go deep inside the caves or deep inside the ground, away from the light. And they lived with their eyes being totally open, dilated, open, right? So that when they came out into the darkness, their eyes were telescopes.
Right. Okay.
So that's how they could see things that only telescopes can see today. They trained their eyes to be telescopes because they existed in the dark. They never existed in the light. And like us, even in our darkness, we have artificial light, which is our light bulbs and things like that. So we still have light that keeps our eyes that size. But when you retreat into caves and you are not exposed to the sun or sunlight at all, your eyes become telescopes. That's science, brother.
Right.
That's not like Twilight Zone kind of stuff. When your eyes open up, you can see things. That's what cats do. If you look at a cat at night, their eyes are round. But when you look at a cat during the day, their eyes are slit.
Right.
Because at nighttime, their eyes open up.
Exactly.
During the day, they go down. They see better in the dark than they do in the light. You know, I see better in the dark than I do in the light. And there are many people that are like that. That you can see in the dark because your eyes are open.
Right.
And again, this goes back to holistic. Let me give you an example of someone who, to me, in my understanding science, I'm dealing with evidence now, Brother Chase.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just evidence. I'm not into emotion, and I'm not into trying to get. Let me tell you who, to me, was the greatest human being to live since 1492. Dr. George Washington Carver.
Wow. Right.
And here's why. Remember you talked about holistic learning.
Yes, sir.
Which means you're using whole brain. Your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere. The way in which Western civilization does this, and man, they do this all the time. They deal with knowledge quantitatively. Africans deal with it qualitatively. In other words, they'll say to you, how much of your brain do you use? So they'll say, well, that person used 5%. They even say Albert Einstein used 11%.
Right.
Okay? But that's not the way to look at the brain. You got to look at it holistically.
Right.
You have to look at the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Okay, it's called stereogenesis.
Okay.
And stereogenesis means that if you write with your right hand, then your left side of the brain is dominant. If you're left-handed, then the right side of your brain is dominant. Okay? The left side of your brain is where your mathematician is. It's where your scientist is. It's where, when you reason things out, that's the part of your brain that you're using, the left hemisphere.
Okay. Okay.
The right hemisphere of your brain is your musician. It's your artist.
Okay.
It's everything that's creative. Analogical, right side, analytical, left side. I'm going to do a webinar on George Washington Carver because I think this is so important for us to understand, because when we talk about using how much percentage of your brain, we got to get away from quantitative or how much of the brain you're using as opposed to qualitatively as to how you're using your brain. It's two different ways of looking at it.
Right.
You know, you cannot quantitatively count how much of your brain you're using.
Right.
But quantitatively, according to what you produce, can let you know how much of your brain you're using. I have got pictures of George Washington Carver in his laboratory working with plants. For him to do that, that's the left side of his brain. I've got pictures of him because he was a premier artist.
Wow.
I've got pictures of his drawings, his artwork. That is superb, brother. He was as great an artist as he was a scientist.
Right.
But for him to draw that picture of the plants, he had to use the right side of his brain. because that's where the artist is.
Mm.
So this brother was left side scientist, right side artist.
Right.
Okay? And his artwork in plants and in botany. And then he would go to the laboratory and work with plants and botany. This brother used, I don't know how much, but it certainly was above 50 to 70% of his brain.
Right.
So, what do I say to us? You want to practice this? If you find that you write with your right hand, remember stereogenesis. Start writing with your left hand. If you find that you are carrying bags or you do a lot of things with your left side, start doing it with your right side. Because what you're doing is you are ushering forward and commanding the other side of your brain that many times lays dormant because you're so prone to your right side. You are now challenging the left side of your body to enact the right side of your brain. And that's what George Washington Carver did.
And that's crazy, Baba. When I'm at the range, we had a shooting range, so I go weekly. And they always make me shoot on my left shoulder, and it's uncomfortable. And my head starts to hurt. I'm like, man, my head is hurting. You know, because I'm right-handed, so I usually shoot with the gun on my right shoulder. I have to switch it to my left shoulder, and I start, man, my head's starting to hurt. But now it's clicking now. It's like it's firing a new side of the brain that's never been fired before. And I'm like, so now it's starting to make sense.
That's right. Yeah. And that's exactly what you're doing.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's called ambidextrous. It means you can use both sides.
Right.
So if you find yourself dominant on one side of your body, start to use the other side of your body.
Right.
Because actually, when you say that you get a headache, actually what's happening is that you're exercising a part of your brain you weren't before.
Yeah.
It's not so much an ache as much as it is you're making the muscles work that's connecting neurons that have not been connected before. And so that's an exercise that we can start to do with Dr. George Washington Carver as an example of what we mean when we say holistic learning. Because between your left and right hemisphere, there's a part of your brain known as the corpus callosum.
Okay. Right.
C-O-R-P-U-S.
I was just about to ask you. You already knew I was going, Bob. C-O-R, you said?
C-O-R-P-U-S, corpus callosum. C-A-L-L-O-S-U-M.
Okay.
Your corpus callosum runs along the top of your brain, and it connects the left and right hemisphere of your brain.
Okay.
And that is what sends messages from one side of the brain to the other. So when George Washington Carver went out into the woods for a week and came back with 52 inventions that he did not know before.
Right.
He came back a week later with all these different things that he had found out in the forest, in the woods. And they asked him, they said, Dr. Carver, wow, where did you learn this? He said the plants taught him. And everybody laughed at him.
Right.
They made joke of him because in the Western civilization, you're in the twilight zone when you talk like that.
Yeah.
And of course, now they're going to think that the plants are talking to them because they cannot imagine the way in which nature communicates with us. So they figure that, okay, if he's talking, then they must vocally be talking. No, nature can communicate with you by its color, by its position, where it's located in the forest. Those are all things that can let the learner know how they can best service the human family. And that's what George Washington Carver was tuned into. He was tuned into nature.
Right. Absolutely.
See, my daddy's from Alabama. And so I got that Bama blood in me. That's that DNA from Bama in me. I grew up in New York, man. Born and raised in New York. Didn't know nothing but New York. In the city. Concrete jungle. But inside of me, there was always that nature.
Absolutely.
And I think my daddy, well, I wouldn't say my mama didn't give it to me. She's from Boston.
Okay.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that the earthiness, the return back to the land.
Right.
That my father had growing up on a farm. You know, he grew up with large farm. And you know something else? it's important for us all to understand that there were some places in the South where white folk didn't mess with black folk.
Absolutely.
And that's very important. See, we see the fire hoses on us and we see us getting beat.
Mm-hmm.
But my daddy used to tell me stories about his family.
Right.
My grandfather, my father's father's name was Black Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a proverb in the town where they lived in Alabama.
Right.
Don't f with Black Diamond.
Right.
He will whip your...
Yeah.
And we all have family members. We know this story.
Yes, indeed.
You know, but they want to project this fear we have of them.
Right. And we're gonna go into that, Bob. Before the end of the day, we're gonna pull your knowledge tree from that, because you know that's something we have to correct as well. Even a lot around this time, February, we see a lot of civil rights shows, and everything is very passive. Everything is we're getting beat up and water holes sicked on us, but we know it was brothers and sisters who were getting down in the 60s, the deacons of the fence, brothers who were going to church. Man. We talking about church going brothers who were putting hands on people. So, you know, we're going to get into that though, Baba, but let me ask you real quick, because we're talking about holistic history. And something that I'm starting to study more, looking at history holistically, even before the slave trade. It's funny, can you talk about the role that the Moors played in Columbus coming to America? Because to me, it's ironic that I believe his name is Boabdil, the last Moorish king who's kicked out of Granada in 1492. It's ironic that he's kicked out of Granada in 1492, and later that year, Columbus so-called discovers America. And I've heard you talk about the early slave trade, even before the Transatlantic, where a lot of these Moors were sold into places in the Caribbean. I know you said you believe a lot of Caribbean people could possibly have royal Moorish blood running in their veins. Can you talk about that from a holistic standpoint? And do you feel as if Columbus and the transatlantic slave trade was Europeans getting revenge on the Moors?
Well, when you go back and you understand what actually happened, we find Cristobal Colon, because that was his name.
Right, right.
Okay, Cristobal Colon, or Christopher Columbus, really dealt with the Portuguese. He wasn't with Spain. But you also, when we look at history, Portugal being part of the Iberian Peninsula, it's all one land area. There's various changes in language, just like when you go into the northern part of Spain, you have the Basque language. That Basque language can be traced right back to Africa.
Right, right.
That's why they're so unique. And so Columbus was married to Portuguese royalty. We find Cristobal Colon on the west coast of Africa in 1482.
Okay.
Because he's involved with Africans who were coming to America.
Right, right.
He knew exactly where he was going. But here's the key. See, there's no honor amongst thieves.
Yes, sir.
Because what happened was that Portugal, because remember, we all hear, one of the first things we hear about any European on the waters is Prince Henry the Navigator. And that's Portugal.
Right.
But Portugal didn't have the finances because that's that little sliver. But Spain had the many kingdoms that the Africans had built with much wealth. And so the first Africans that were brought to this part of the world were enslaved by the Spaniards because they were the Moors that had affluent wealth.
Okay.
The British did it with the Irish. The British, when they wanted to take over Ireland, the British sent the Irish to America and to Australia.
Right.
Because the first thing you do when you want to steal someone's property is get them off it.
Yes, sir.
And so that they can't come back.
Right, right, right. Gentrification. This is the old version of gentrification. Okay, same thing.
Hey, bruh. Same old, brother. They ain't learned nothing new.
Right, 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 right.
Take the land and just occupy.
Right.
And the whole while telling people you're afraid because black folk are trying to move into their neighborhood.
Right.
The whole time everybody talking about, the next thing you know, black folk are going to be coming in your neighborhood.
Right.
Because that's what it was. Black folk didn't want integration. We wanted segregation. people of European descent internalize the equality of black people with, oh, the next thing, there go the neighborhood.
Right.
Black folk didn't want to move in the white people neighborhood. Black folk just wanted, if I'm on the road and I'm hungry, I should be able to stop at any restaurant and be able to eat. If I want to stay in a hotel, I should be able to stay in any hotel. If there's a water fountain that says black only, it's broke, I should be able to drink from the white only water fountain. Yes, black folk didn't want to integrate with white folk. We just wanted to break down the laws of desegregation. Integration is a concept that Europeans created. Right. Just like what we're dealing with today. It's the same exact thing. They ain't changed. They always revert back to their Neanderthal state. Yes, sir. Which is xenophobia, fear of the fall. Right. So, to go back to the concept, brother, when you're looking at these Africans who have a lively trade with Africa, and not to mention, there's already Africans here, the first Africans that came to this part of the world. Right. The first human beings that stepped foot on the American continent were African. Absolutely. The Twa and Mbuti people. Right, absolutely. The short-statured people. First human beings. And they came somewhere around 100,000 years ago. Right, right. There's evidence of a black woman in San Diego, California, when they dated her bones, carbon-14, nitrogen-14, they dated her to be 90,000 years old. Right, right. This is a great book for the family to check out. There we go. Dr. David Imhotep. And what we see, Baba, like you're saying, several migrations before the last episode, as we call it, you know, the transatlantic slave, several migrations of African people. That is it. Yes, indeed. And Brother Chase, that's the cornerstone important concept to understand. The waves of people that came here. The first were the Paleo-Americans, right. The Twa and Mbuti people, short-statured people, Khoisan of Southern Africa, that we derogatorily call pygmies. Right, right. Are these, Baba, are these as well the Negritos that we call in Asia, the small black, these are the same people? That's it. Right. The black dwarfs, right. The Negritos, the Negritos, right. The Ainu of Japan, because Ainu is another word used because of the Osirian drama, Anu or Ani, and in Japan, had the Anu people. Okay. Short-statured, original people of Japan. I got pictures of them. Photographs of these folks. Right. Photographs of the Champa people of Vietnam. Black. Somebody was asking, the book is The First Americans Were African by Dr. David Imhotep. Excellent book. This is the expanded and revised version. Yep. This is the expanded and revised version. You can get it on Amazon for the family that's asking. That is it. Yes, sir. He continued the work of Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. Right, right, right. And I went to Mexico with Dr. Van Sertima in 1984. And he told me that how he got into Africans in America was he read a book by Dr. Leo Wiener. Right, right. Wrote it in the 20s. Right. It's called The African Discovery of America. And he said that, you know, he was so, because he was from Guyana, that he had such, like all of us do to certain degrees, that this dominant force in our heads that, we can't believe that. Right. Africans in America? No, it's the European. Everything started with the European. And so Dr. Van Sertima said that he started research to disprove Leo Wiener. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. He said he wanted to prove Leo Wiener was wrong. Right. Wasn't no Africans coming here. And the end result of his research and what he found out was his book, They Came Before Columbus. That's how deep it gets. The ancestors and creator will bring you into something unbeknownst to you, and all of a sudden, pow! Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how it works. That's why it's important we have to do our research, Baba, at the end of the day. A lot of the information is out there. I think we're in the information era right now. So a lot of information. I think that's really why they're extremely nervous right now. They're panicking right now because so much of the information is out there. Oh, yeah. Yes, and, bruh, I have no doubt why they forbid black folk to read. Right. Absolutely. Because if they realized that black folk could read, they'd realize that one day black folk gonna write books. There it is. One, 2,
Oh, yeah. There it is.
and 3.
The Voice of the
Okay,
Ancestor series.
that's your genius, brother.
Blessings.
That's your genius. They knew that if we ever learned to read, the truth would come out. Even Thomas Jefferson said, if the God that we worship is the God of all, may God help us when we have to pay for what we've done to black people.
Absolute. Absolute.
And now their time, like Malcolm said, chickens have come home to roost.
Absolute. Absolute.
They right here, brother. I hear the cluck cluck all over.
Absolutely. Every morning we hear it. It's getting closer and louder, Baba.
That's it, brother.
Baba, let me ask you as well, because something else I think, and you're pretty much the first person I heard say this. Now a lot of the talking points are about whether it be the Moors, whether it be brothers and sisters in Africa, your own people sold you out. But you're one of the first people I heard break down the concept of so-called slavery. They've tried to put slavery all in one boat. All of the ancient slavery, everything would happen here being called 3/5 of a human being. So let me ask you, Bob, because this is an ongoing question in our community. Number one, did African people have slavery as we know it today? The slavery we went through here in the Americas. And also, did Africans sell us out? Did the Moors sell us out? Because a lot of people are saying the Moors sold us out. So can you explain and break down that concept of enslavement first, as well as were people selling us out?
Yes. From my research.
Yes, sir.
And from where I'm coming from. The ancient world did not have slaves. They had servitude.
Okay.
They had organized servitude. It was a business. But no matter what position you found yourself in, as someone who was in service to someone else, you were always considered a human being. The children born from you were considered human beings.
Right.
You were viewed as someone in an unfortunate situation, but it was not a inferior position.
Okay. Okay.
Europeans had what is called feudalism, which is disorganized slavery. Disorganized slavery. Africans had organized servitude.
Right, right.
It was like a legal system in Europe between the lord, just think about what he was called, the lord and the serf. You were enslaved. And the idea was, if me and my gang are larger and stronger than you and your gang, I can take what you got. And there's no law that can stop me because I am the law under these conditions.
Yes, sir.
That's what feudalism did. So, when Africans, with their organized servitude, began to develop the systems in Europe,
right,
what the Europeans did is they contaminated it. And they took their disorganized slavery and superimposed it over organized servitude.
Right.
And made it a law. Africans didn't have a law. The natural law said that all humans are equal.
Right, right.
You may be in an unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
But it didn't make you any less of a human.
Right.
You were looked upon as a human being. You were treated rough. I'm not trying to say everything was nice.
Right.
But there were fundamental principles that guided you from a natural perspective, whereas when Europeans got it, they took an organized enslavement process, superimposed it over an organized servitude, and that became institutional slavery of what we were exposed to.
Okay. Okay.
And the evidence is what's happening right now in front of us.
Yes, sir.
Because you see, to women, if you really were equal in the eyes of men, you would not need an ERA. You would not need an Equal Rights Amendment. because the nature of your humanity would make you equal.
Yes, sir.
We as black folk, if we were looked upon as humans, Malcolm was right. It's human rights you got to go after, not civil rights. Because as you can see, civil rights was passed 60 years ago, but you see how they turning it over now.
Right, right.
But if black folk are looked upon as a human being, you don't have to ask, do I have the right to vote?
Right, right, right.
You don't need a voting rights amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And with the few beginnings of the Constitution, and then they got all these amendments. Every amendment to the Constitution is an admission you made a mistake in your original document. That's what amend means, to correct the mistake.
Yes, sir.
So the fact that we need all these amendments, people talking about, you know, we got to follow the Constitution for what it is. Oh, hell no, we need a new Constitution.
Right, right, right.
Because when that old one was done by the forefathers, not F-O-R-E,
Mm-hmm.
F-O-E fathers,
Right.
forefathers.
Mm-hmm.
When they wrote that, we were not human. And by the way, the 3/5 clause has nothing to do with black folk per se.
Mm.
The 3/5 amendment has to do with the voting rights of the European male landowner.
Okay, I've never heard
When
that
they were
before.
trying to figure out, because you got your vote according to your possessions.
Mm-hmm.
And so white male enslavers said, well, what about us with Africans?
Okay.
You know, that's like the cattle and the goats.
Right.
You know, that's my possession. And so what the law said was, okay, what we'll do is we will classify an African as 3/5 of a human.
Mm-hmm.
That had to do with voting rights for white people.
Right.
So if you had 5 Africans on your plantation, you had 3 votes.
Wow. Right, because they were seen as property. Mm-hmm.
That's it. Hey, man, when you get down to it, down on Wall Street, man, we were stocks
Yes, indeed.
in bondage.
Yes, indeed.
And then they cut it down to stocks and bonds.
Right, right. Right.
But
Absolutely.
originally, we were called stocks because we were material. We were like cows. They sold cows and cattle and goats and sheep along with black folk.
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it was all considered to be stocks in bondage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now Wall Street has stocks
And bonds.
and bonds.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Baba, that's...
And don't believe me, fam.
Mm-hmm.
And underneath Wall Street, there are prisons.
Yes, indeed.
And all along the road that would take Africans to be sold, they created prisons all along the street
Mm-hmm.
that led to what we call Wall Street.
Right.
Today, where all those prisons were, that's called, New Yorkers will know what I'm saying, it's called Chambers Street.
Mm-hmm.
So when we walking along Chambers Street, we don't know that there are spirits of our ancestors underground.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of black folk died along Chambers Street.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Man.
And so when we look at these concepts, Brother Chase, this all wraps up into a story.
Right.
Holistically.
Right.
That we just have to see.
Mm-hmm.
The second wave of people that came to America were a taller stature African people known as Clovis Folsom.
Yes, indeed.
The third were the Algonquin,
Mm-hmm.
African, but some had been mixed with people that had experienced the Ice Age.
Mm-hmm.
And then came the fourth wave, which is known as the Inuit,
Okay.
or what are derogatorily called the Eskimo.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the fifth migration is the largest migration
Mm-hmm.
that came, and they are known as the Mongol invasion. They were escaping the Mongolian invasion of Asia, Genghis Khan and them, and they were pushed down.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Bering Strait people.
Right.
So now, with episodic history, they got us thinking that all Americans that inhabited this continent came from the Bering Strait. The first Africans that came to America, the Twa Mbuti, came from South Africa.
Right.
The Benguela Current goes right into what we call the mouth of the Amazon River in Brazil. Some of the oldest people
Mm-hmm.
are in Tierra del Fuego in South America and in Brazil.
Yes, sir.
The oldest artifacts found
Yes, sir.
of human beings. And then they migrated north. And then some came what's called Australoid,
Mm-hmm.
they came from the east. And they inhabited the land from the east.
Mm.
So as we're looking at this, and then some came from Asia.
Mm-hmm.
But these Asians that came were black.
Right.
See, but then later on, there were Asians that would be of more what we today call Indo-European that came to America, but they came much later.
Right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And Baba, let me ask you this. Since we're on the subject, we're talking about these first Americans being black. Two-part question. What happened to these people? Because a lot of people ask that question. And I know books like Lerone Bennett, Shaping a Black America. He talks about the red and the black. And he talks about how many Europeans say we just need to do raids on the so-called native villages and just enslave all the black people. You know, we see a lot of laws in states in Virginia, especially early on, where they're talking about reclassifying Indians and Moors and just putting them all as Negroes because they look the same anyway. So based off your research, what happened to a lot of these people and how did a lot of us lose touch of this history? And I won't even say lose touch because I think every African American, or if you want to call it, we call it foundational Black American, everybody has that story in their family or their grandma, somebody saying it's some Indian in the family. And, you know, for the longest, I think we kind of took it for granted, you know, like, that's not true because we had the Mongoloid image in our head of that Mongoloid people we see now. And we were like, nah, we not them. You know, we X, Y, and Z. But now we starting to see it might be it's a very good chance there's some validity to that. So what happened to these people?
If you want to see those people, they still live. What I tell most black people, go in the bathroom, look in the mirror. That's where they went. The great majority of us in America, okay, let's give two different classifications really dealing with the wave of them moving here as opposed to who they are culturally.
Right, okay.
Let's use the word foundational Black American as the African that was stolen from Africa and brought to America post 1492.
Okay.
African American. Now let's look at another group of people that we're going to call the Aboriginal African American.
Okay.
Aboriginal. And so therefore, when we see this word Aboriginal, we understand we're talking about the Paleo-Americans, the Africans that were here before 1492.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Those two individuals, those two cultures, intertwined. Evidence is the Seminole of Florida. The Cherokee, the Choctaw.
Right.
You can go out west, Arapaho, Apache. These are all people of melanation. You're looking at this, the fifth migration was the one where the most people came over. And what is that they either killed off or married into or interbreeded with the original people who were here who were black. And that is who Cochise is. That's who Sitting Bull is.
Okay.
He is a compilation of all of these individuals, but because of the bloodline, the stronger ones, you know, you add more milk into coffee, it's going to get lighter. Right. Okay, and so that's basically what happened, but they still foundationally stayed black, just like we do.
Right.
You know, we got a lot of black folk that got cream.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and their pigmentation varies, but they still black.
Right.
Because skin pigmentation is only one facet. It's only that you see it in the surface of your skin that you can denote something.
Yes, sir.
But there are people who are well melanated on the outside, but not that melanated on the inside, because melanin is in every organ and gland in your body. It's in your skeletal system. It's in your circulatory system. It's in your reproductive system. Melanin is what makes you move. That is why carbon, the basic foundational atom that brings all the atoms together that creates all of the billions of molecules we have, that is the active ingredient that brings life And that is what creates an organic being.
Right.
The only way you can be organic is if you can assimilate carbon, which is, it means that you can bring into your system the blackness of the cosmic universe. That's science.
Yes, sir.
So my response is, you are them.
Right.
In one way or another,
Right.
you are them.
Mm-hmm.
And as you trace your ancestry back, you might think you're related to someone who is less pigmented, let's say, as an indigenous person. But the reality of it is that the original inhabitants of America were melanated.
Right.
Kinky hair.
Right.
You saw the first book that David and Hotep wrote, and he showed you the picture of that brother
Right.
from Tierra del Fuego.
Right. Yes, indeed.
Come on, that brother. I saw that brother on 125th Street the other day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know that brother walked down the street, a Peach Street in Atlanta.
Right. And that's a picture from their museum, right? I believe they have it on display down there, right?
Yes, they do.
Yes, indeed.
And it's also in Europe.
Yes, indeed. And that's what.
And there's more than that.
Right.
There's Zia. Because every third Friday of the month I do a webinar on the original Americans, because this is why this is so timely that we have this conversation, brother. Because I had to say, okay, I'm hearing a little bit too much. I'm hearing things like slavery never existed.
Yeah, you are hearing some crazy stuff.
Okay, come on, man.
Yeah.
That and the earth is flat. It's two things we will have to work on, bro.
Man, Baba, please don't go into that, Baba. Oh, man, we got to do a whole nother, because I was thinking about talking about that, but that's you gonna start a firestorm in here.
Hey, brother, somebody came to me the other day when I was outside, and they say, "Yo, bro, I was just watching this thing about the fact that the Earth and the sun and the planets are flat."
Right.
He said, "Tell me something, brother. Are they right?" And I said, "Okay, brother. Here's what I'd like you to do. Get me a piece of paper."
Mm-hmm.
And he brought me a piece of paper. And I said, "Okay, brother, you see that? Right there, there's a trash can." I said, "Okay, I want you to toss that paper in the trash can." And when he did, the paper flew from side to side and down and around, and it went out.
Right.
It didn't go in. I picked up the paper, I gave it to him, and I said, "Now what I want you to do is I want you to ball it up in your fist. And now I want you to throw it into the garbage." Pow, went right in. I said, "What you just did when you pushed it in science, that's called centripetal and centrifugal force."
Uh-oh. Right.
Okay? Centrifugal force is a force that goes from the inside, pushes out, but pulls in at the same time. Centripetal force is a force that pushes in, but pulls out at the same time.
Okay.
But the marriage of the two create gravity. And the reason why the planets and the sun have to be round and spherical is because that's what interstellar space does.
Yes, sir.
It balls up everything.
Right.
And makes it spherical.
Right.
Because there's no way the Earth could rotate around the sun if it was flat. It couldn't happen. The only way it could be is if it was a sphere.
Right.
A circle.
Right.
Round.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Baba, you lose when you talking to flat earthers. Sometimes you lose a brain cell. Sometimes you use a brain cell. So you got good patience for it. I just like, okay, brother, and let it go, because I think what a lot of it is, Baba, is it's people's way of just challenging the system. I think that's what it is for the most part. And I don't blame them, because they do it with everything, And I don't think it's anything wrong with questioning certain things, anything like that. But it's just people's way of questioning the system, and that's their starting point. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
That's their starting point. So, but
absolutely. Tell me one sport that uses a flat object besides hockey. Basketball, football, tennis, table tennis. Why? Because gravity allows spherical objects to move through space. Whereas if it were flat, it wouldn't move.
Mm.
Imagine taking a basketball and cutting it up and making it flat. Now try to bounce that ball on the ground.
Right, 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 right. Yes, it
Take a
did.
football and open it up and try to pass it.
Mm-hmm.
What makes it move through space is gravity.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
The centrifugal and centripetal force of a force pushing in while pulling out, a force is pushing out while pulling in. The marriage of creates that, which creates a dynamic that allows things to move in the universe.
Yes, indeed.
But you are right, brother.
Mm-hmm.
We as a people are so tired of this dominant system. We don't want to believe anything that you say.
Right, right, right. Absolutely.
And I understand, and I love our people unconditionally.
Right.
But I understand that at the same time, when you do your own research into your own history and culture and you study our people, then that transcends what the dominant culture is doing, because I come to realize the moment they start talking, they lie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's just how I feel.
Right.
I don't accept what you say.
Mm-hmm.
You may be right. And if you're right, then I'll adjust my thinking.
Yes, sir.
But my first impression of them is that they don't tell the truth. Sometimes on purpose, but sometimes, man, 85% of what they do, man, is sheer incompetence. That's what frightens me, Brother Chase. Because when this Dolly House fall down, are we prepared to have an economic system, you know, an education system, a political system, you know, an entertainment system? Can we manage ourselves?
Right, right.
So even if they fall apart, what about us?
Right.
Okay, so they fell apart. You know, Saddam Hussein, okay, he had a lot of questions about him, but he kept all them crazy groups in place.
Yeah, yeah.
Once they got rid of him, look what happened in Iraq. The Sunni, the Shia, went buck wild crazy. Because he kept everybody in line.
Yes, indeed.
The same thing when you go to Libya with Muammar Gaddafi.
Right.
No matter how you felt about him, he kept everybody in place. Once he was gotten rid of, look what's going on. Same in America. See, the European is losing his and her power.
Indeed.
And we have to understand their time is up. But the question to me is, what are we doing for our children who are going to be born in 100 years? What are we doing?
Yes, indeed.
We can spend our time looking at them, which is a waste of time, because we've been watching them over 400 years. They ain't changed. But what are we doing?
Right.
Okay? Here you, brother. This is what you're doing.
Yes, sir. Blessings.
This Instagram Live is what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
My being here is what I'm doing. What I'm doing is what I'm doing. But my question to each and every one of us, whether you work for FedEx, whether you are a nurse, whatever it is, take your talent to the community. If you're a nurse, teach the children about health and nutrition. If you work for FedEx, teach them what you do on your job. You know, in schools we have that. It's called Career Day. Where folk come in from different backgrounds and careers, and they tell the children what they do and what it is that makes them who they are.
Right.
We need to do that in our community, directly in our community. We need our engineers to teach engineering, our plumbers to teach plumbing. Those of us who work in tailor shops, teach our children how to sew. Those of us who have our own food industry, our own restaurants, teach children how to cook. Go out into the community and get children in schools. Any of you interested in learning how to cook? Give them some time in your restaurant with approval of the parents.
Yeah.
If you work in the cleaners and you do tailoring, bring the children in and teach them what you do. But also teach them the science and math of what you do.
Yes, indeed.
Because my father worked in the post office, but his thing was tailoring. And he used to, you know, he used to press clothes. Back in the day, man, they would bring that thing down on the clothes and things like that.
Right.
I used to hang out with him after school. So I used to watch him all the time. And my father's expertise was he knew when to pick that thing up before it got too hot on them clothes.
Right.
That's chemistry. That's thermonuclear reaction. Why does clothes flatten out when you put heat on it? That's science.
Yes, sir.
And how long do you have to keep it on? Or if you keep it on too long, it'll burn it. What made it burn? That's science.
Right.
So whatever you do in your life, you can teach the children a talent in that area. Make relationships in the school, in your community. Don't overburden yourself. You might be able to go once a day, maybe from 4 to 5 after school. That's cool. You don't have to dedicate everything. There's 2 things I used to always do with parents when I asked them to volunteer in the school. My first question is, what time are you best available? Because a lot of times we just tell parents, come at 9 o'clock. Well, no, I can't get up at 9 o'clock.
Right.
You tell me to get up 9 o'clock, I'm sorry, I can't come. You tell me to come at 4, I can't.
Yeah.
So what time can you come in your schedule? And what is it that you'd like to teach? Because a lot of times we'll have a teacher, we'll say, a parent, we'll say, okay, go in there and I want you to read to the children. We'll tell another parent, okay, I want you to help them in art. But the problem was the parent that you sent in to do the reading is a prolific artist. And the parent that you sent in to do art is a prolific reader.
Right.
Had you just asked the parent, they say, I love to read. Oh, good. Then can you read to the children? The other one say, you know something? Every chance I get, I draw. Oh, good. You teach the children art.
Right.
2 questions. When can you volunteer? And in what way, what gift do you have that you would like to share with the children? Don't give parents a thing to do that they don't want to do. Every parent don't want to help tutor a child in mathematics. But there are some accountants that would love to do that.
Right.
That's what we can do to start this process. And when you pass that brother on the street with his pants up there showing his butt, with his hair on sideways, and the brother got a tree in his mouth.
Right.
Just say hello to the brother. How you doing? Don't judge him. Entrust him. Hey, brother, what's going on? When I'm on my way to the garage, brother, I spend my time talking to the young brothers in the street.
Absolutely.
And I ain't going to stand and lecture you.
Right.
There are times they stop me and say, brother, I got a question, man. I saw you on Hidden Colors, man. I have a question about this. I say, sure, come on. Pretty soon there's a little gathering of the brothers because they see me standing. They see the other younger brothers there. We just start chopping it up. We start talking.
Absolutely.
What we call jaw jacking.
Yeah. Absolutely. And people are hungry. They're more hungry for the knowledge than people realize. But so many people avoid them all the time. And it turns into this thing. So they're hungry for the knowledge, Baba.
Brother, I bear witness to that. All my career, it's according to how you give it to them. There's a difference between how you teach and what you teach. Your method of teaching is vitally important to what you're teaching.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But just engage them. Respect. Ra means to look in a divine light. Spect means to look. So respect means to look. I'm acknowledging you. I'm accepting you. I am approving you as an individual. I see you. Hey, brother, what's going on?
Right.
Hey, sis, how's that going? How's school coming along? I'll keep going.
Right.
Because I'm not going to stop and lecture you. I'll only stop if you stop me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Powerful, Baba.
And this is what we have to start to do. Interact with our young people. Brother, what you and I are doing in terms of the audience that you have, brother, I tell you, man, it's always good to have friends that have friends.
Right. Absolutely.
You've been working my IG for a while now.
Yeah.
With when you put things up, all of a sudden I got 200 more followers.
Right.
Okay. My book is selling because you put it out there.
Respect.
Okay? And so the younger generation is who I'm going after. But I've been with them all my life. That's all I've known. I think like a child, man. If you get inside my head, my neurons are connected like kindergarten children.
Right.
I think like a child. That's my success. Because children are pure. They think pure. But I've got a mature understanding of the conditions I'm living in. Our children are phenomenal, brother.
Yes, indeed.
And like you say, they're like dry sponge, ready to soak up water, brother.
Soak it up. And like I say, people are hungry for the knowledge. Baba, listen, man, this is powerful right here. Family, if you're just coming in, we want to hit the Cash App at the bottom. Baba, is that correct? Can you confirm that? I just want to make sure that's the right Cash App at the bottom and PayPal.
Yes, brother.
Okay.
Yes, brother.
Family, we're doing the $10 challenge. I've already put 100 on it, family. We want to challenge everybody. We got 392 people. Hit that Cash App. Just show respect. Pay homage to all the knowledge and wisdom. Been doing this before many of us been born, and we thank you for that. And also go to www.kabakamene.com and get his book, Spirituality Before Religions. Okay, so Baba goes deeper. Let me get it right here for the family to see. Goes deeper on spirituality before religions. Powerful, powerful read. Powerful, powerful read. This is, to me, in the same light as Stolen Legacy when I read it. You know, I've read it twice already, Baba, and I know I probably grasped 10% of it because I'm one of those people. I have to, if something is not clicking with me, I have to read it again. I have to go to the side, look it up, do X, Y, and Z. So make sure y'all get this, family. This is a timeless classic. And your other books, Will Leo Hansberry, The Life of William Leo Hansberry, and The Shabaka Stone, that's on Amazon. Am I correct by saying that, Baba?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Baba, but transition it a little bit. If you have time for us to continue to ask questions a little bit.
Sure.
Transitioning a little bit here, you know, we talking about understanding the genius within. And what I'm doing in my research is I'm looking at now, you know, understanding why a lot of white people don't want us to know this information. I'm realizing, Baba, just here in the Americas, how many colonies they set up that failed. Just, I mean, even before 1619. It's the reason why they start at 1619. Because they make it try to seem like they came over here and just set up shop and everything was good. But I'm seeing 1526, they tried to bring some brothers here and they rose up on them and moved in with the indigenous people down in St. Augustine in Florida. The Spanish tried to set up a colony, they failed. The French tried to set up a colony, they failed. Then they started eating each other, all type of crazy stuff. Just Jamestown. They went back to that Iceman mentality many times, and it wasn't until they brought us here. And they had to build on the genius of the African, like they always have done, even with the Moors going into Europe. I know you talk about, you know, 99% of the population was illiterate. You know, they were starving over there, coming off of disease and plague. How important were we to the building of America? I know I've always heard you say we were the machines of America. Before technology, the technology was us. You know, so how important were we to the building of America? Because they've reduced it, Baba, to just cotton. You know, just y'all were just cotton pickers and only a few people were cotton pickers. So can you go deeper on that?
Brother, we were, whether we realize it or not, brother, when we look at Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, Sally Hemings' brother, James Hemings. Okay, Thomas Jefferson, when he created this illicit relationship with this child called Sally Hemings, she's 14 years old.
Right.
One of the first things that we have to understand about this is the fact that Sally Hemings was the daughter of Thomas Jefferson's father-in-law.
I didn't know that.
In other words, Thomas Jefferson's wife was half-sister to Sally Hemings.
Oh, man.
Thomas Jefferson's father-in-law raped a black woman, and Sally Hemings was the product of that relationship. So Thomas Jefferson's wife and his illicit child lover were sisters, half-sisters. To hide what he did, he sent her to France. He went to France too to live. He brought a contingent of Africans with him, and one of them was Sally Hemings' brother, James.
Yes, indeed.
This is what my son told me just recently.
Yes, indeed. Shout out to Brother Haru.
Yeah.
Shout out.
That brother just brought this on.
Shout out to him.
And he said to me, "Did you know that?" I said, "Brother, you schooling me now."
Right.
James Hemming went to France.
Mm-hmm.
And also the chef was black, went to France.
Mm-hmm.
James Hemming brought back the meal we call mac and cheese.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The chef brought back French fries.
Wow.
That's how mac and cheese and French fries got to America.
Yes,
so
indeed.
I'm just talking about on a culinary level.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing Europeans have is the patent office and the Xerox machine.
Right, right.
They do not have the seat of creativity. They have a marvelous way of copying what's already been existing.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And so when you look at all of these inventions,
Mm-hmm.
most of them were done by black people.
Mm-hmm.
Cotton gin, all that is done by black people. Even when you come up to modern time, cell phone, black people. The World Wide Web, WWW, black people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Lewis Latimer and Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison gets credit for inventing the light bulb.
Yes, sir.
But Lewis Latimer was the one that created the filament that keeps the light on.
Mm.
So, I mean, you may have done the light bulb, but what good is a light bulb if it can't go on?
Yes, indeed.
The sisters in Hidden Figures. The invention of the spaceship going up into space was one thing. But those sisters mathematically, in Hidden Figures, created the concept of what keeps a spaceship in space.
Mm.
So you can have a spaceship, but it's going to sit on the Earth all day long.
Yeah.
It might even take off, but it's not going to stay up there.
Right.
But the sisters made it possible for it to stay up there.
Mm.
So even in our other inventions, what we brought to the table brought a concept that went beyond the understanding of our people. But you see, Brother Chase, my thing is, why would we be surprised? The greatest contributions that America has made to the world has come through African people.
Right.
And the latest invention that swept the planet
Mm-hmm.
is called hip-hop.
Mm. Mm.
Hip-hop make more money than drugs.
Mm.
So it's not even like we don't know this. Ain't nobody swag like us.
Right. Right.
Even when they give us the worst of things,
Mm.
like the worst of the insides of the pig, the chitlins, and the bitterest part of the greens, and all the worst things, we turn that around. Our sisters and brothers put a little bit of spice on that,
Right.
make it a gourmet.
Absolutely.
Japanese can't come to America and not say they didn't go to a soul food restaurant.
Come on now.
They tell Japanese, you ain't been to America if you don't go to a soul food restaurant. Sylvia's in New York.
Mm.
And I'm sure in Atlanta they got those soul
Of
food
course.
restaurants. I know they got,
Of
I've been to
course.
a couple there.
Right. Of course.
Everybody, even vegetarians go to check out Slutty Vegan.
Yeah, slutty vegan hits. You don't know what you're eating when you get there. Somebody has to tell you it's vegan food down here. Yes, indeed.
Okay. Because I remember when I went there for the first time, they asked me if I was a virgin there. I said, no, I've been here a couple times.
Right.
This ain't my first time.
Right. Absolutely.
So, I mean, our invention and what we do is staring us in the face right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at our greatness right now. But because we have been taught that we are inferior, we don't want to embrace that greatness. It's called the imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
The imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
That you put yourself down and put someone else above you because you don't believe you're worthy of it.
Mm.
And if anybody wants to hear a version that I'm talking about, I just played it the other day, about 20 minutes. It was the eulogy that was done by Kevin Costner at Whitney Houston's funeral.
Okay.
Where he explained in no uncertain terms that when he wanted her in The Bodyguard, he said only Whitney could do this movie.
Mm.
She didn't think she was qualified. She didn't think she had it in her. And this is what we as black people experience. I think Michael Jackson experienced it. That's what made him go the way he went. That's what Prince went through. That's what made him go through what he went. Because when you're black and you're in their society, no matter how great you are and even better than them, you still see yourself as less than them because of what you've been taught about yourself.
Right.
It's called the imposter syndrome.
Right.
I tell people all the time, I understand what you're saying, but ain't no part of my body humble.
Mm.
And I don't have humility.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the definition of humble, it's when you put yourself in a lesser position to put someone else in a better position than where you are.
Mm.
And even though Whitney Houston sang those songs, I Will Always Love You. Thank you, Dolly Parton, for writing it, but you could never perform it like Whitney Houston.
Mm.
Whitney Houston didn't think she had it in her to sing that song, brother. Do you know what that sister did with that song? She tossed it up against the wall.
Right.
She caught it, threw it to the other side of the room.
Right.
Her lips was quivering when she was singing that song. Her spirit came out in that song.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't think she was qualified. She saw herself as less because when you move into their world, that's what they make you try to feel. Because if you ever knew how great you were,
Mm-hmm.
you would do what I call Simone Biles.
Mm.
I call it the Simone Biles effect.
Mm-hmm.
That sister want to do something, they say, no, you can't do that. She said, why can't I do that? Because we can't do it. And if you do it, you're going to set the bar so high, we'll never be able to do that again.
Right. Right.
Because once you go black, you never go back.
Mm.
Forever forward, never backward. When we got something and we know we got game, we take it to a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
That in our young people, I see it in them. And I watched how people tried to beat it out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just reinforce it in them.
Mm.
I said, don't you listen to nothing. And I used to do it right in front of the person that said it.
Right.
I say, don't let none of them tell you nothing. You are great.
Mm-hmm.
You are phenomenal. Ain't nothing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And don't let anybody make you ever feel that you can't. Something that Dr. Gabriel Ayibo told me, the great mathematician.
Yes, sir.
And this is what I tell you, Brother Chase, this is what I tell our people all the time. Own your greatness.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace it. But in that greatness, don't make it that you perceive yourself greater than somebody else.
Mm.
Like I tell people what Dr. Clark used to always say. I say, I have never met a mind finer than mine.
Mm.
I have met minds as fine as mine,
Mm-hmm.
but I ain't never met one finer. And you stand on your square, you tell the world that, but first you go into that mirror and you tell that person you looking at, I love you,
Mm-hmm.
and mean it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Dr. Clark told me. First homework assignment he gave me when I was 12 and a half.
Yes, sir.
He said, go home, Booker T, and look in the mirror and tell that person you're looking at, I love you, and mean it. Because if you can't do that, there's nothing anyone else can do for you.
Right.
Self-love. Same thing Dr. Sabi told me.
Mm-hmm.
All healing starts from self-love.
Yes, sir.
You know, we taking all these herbs and things, and we complaining, and we causing trouble and gossiping and all the rest of that stuff. We're eating the right foods. Everything Dr. Sabi say to eat, we eat. All the herbs he tells us to take, we take.
Mm-hmm.
But we're complaining. We're feeling negative.
Mm-hmm.
We try to bring people down. And then we're going to blame the herbs for not doing what they were supposed to do.
Mm.
But herbs ain't going to do nothing for you if you don't love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The first step in healing is self-love.
So.
And meaning it.
Mm-hmm.
Looking in that mirror. I love the way my nose looks. I love the size of my lips. I love my complexion. And if you look in the mirror and you feel that you do not look the way you want to look, you might feel that you're carrying a little bit extra weight that you don't want to carry.
Right.
You don't look in the mirror and say, I hate how I look. You look in the mirror and say, I love how I look, but I deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do it because of the love, not because of the hate. Because that's what makes you go back double eating stuff once you finish your diet.
Mm-hmm.
Love yourself. Self-love is one of the first crimes against us.
Mm-hmm.
They took the ability for us to love ourselves. Like Malcolm said, who taught you to hate the width of your nose and the size of your lips and the texture of your hair and the color of your skin?
Right.
Who taught you? They didn't teach you that in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Where you learn that from?
Mm-hmm.
And then again, as Boukman and Mambo Cecile
Mm-hmm.
at Alligator Pond told the Haitian revolutionaries,
Mm-hmm.
cast aside your white God.
Mm.
Embrace your African spirituality.
Mm.
You are free.
Because the first revolution starts in the mind, Bob. First
That is
revolution
it.
starts in the mind. Absolutely.
That is it.
But
And Gil Scott Heron says that is the only revolution, because everything else you see happening on the streets ain't the revolution. It's the result of the revolution that occurred in your mind.
yes, indeed. Yes,
The
indeed.
revolution, just like I say, we're each born with a Judas and a Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
The Judas's job is to make sure that you never achieve your goal.
Right.
The Messiah is born to make sure Judas fails.
Mm-hmm.
So Judas may fall down 9 times, but Messiah rises 10.
Mm.
Keep on keeping on. You never give up. You own your greatness. You understand where you're coming from. You do what you got to do in your station of life. I don't care where you are. Just be the best at what you do.
Yes, sir.
That's my thing. Just be the best at what you do.
Right.
Be you work for sanitation, FedEx, a nurse, a president of a company,
Mm-hmm.
host of a podcast or Instagram Live,
Right.
a writer of books.
Yeah. Got to.
Just be the best. Be the best and own it and know it. And let our children, because that's why the children be posing like this and they be talking all that pontification, because they want to feel like I am this, man. And they love and respect people. That's what we loved about Malcolm and Dr. Khalid Muhammad, was that owning of your greatness and not letting anybody make you feel anything less. And whatever conclusion you come to, my question to you is that your conclusion, or did you come to that conclusion because someone else told you to do that?
Mm-hmm.
The best conclusion comes when it's your thought, not somebody else's. This is who we are, brother. Everything we touch, we take to the next level.
Right.
They let us in baseball. They had to create larger baseball fields.
Right.
Okay, basketball. Oh my goodness, man. All of a sudden now, with basketball, you got the Tootsie Brothers coming in like Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, coming into the set, and Kareem is just doing a basketball. You can't even reach it. First of all, you can't reach his height. The other thing, you can't reach his arm length. So he just taps that ball in there.
Right.
We got so good at the two shot, they had to create a 3-shot.
Right. Start changing
Steroids
rules.
All of it. Steroids was created because of weightlifters. Okay? Now, I can get into the Williams sisters in tennis.
Right.
I can talk about Tiger Woods and golf. Putting the personal aspect aside, that brother had game until he got tripped up in his stuff.
Yes, indeed.
And then, of course, Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka. Okay? We got these young people coming up, and they're doing things that have never been done before, and these folk are scared, brother.
Right.
Because they know that once we got it, it's gone.
Right. Baba, look.
There's a reason why football's 70%. There's a reason why that is.
Yes, indeed.
Because we got game. It's a game because we don't even realize that hockey was started by black folk in the book Black Ice.
Yes, indeed. Brothers in Nova Scotia, up there in Canada. Yes, indeed.
Started hockey.
Right. And now they got that as a white man's sport now. A lot of us think that's a white man's sport. Right.
Exactly. And then you want to honor the first black man that was in hockey.
Right.
The other day. Okay. Stop it, man.
Right.
Stop it.
And I'm seeing, Baba, I don't know if it's true or not because I never really dived into it, but didn't they have a form of hockey in ancient Kemet?
Yes, in fact, it's carved on the wall.
Right.
With the, and also with the puck. Yes, they did.
Okay, yes, indeed.
They did. And they had ball games. They had ball games in America.
Right.
The Shabaka Stone is the 3rd book that I wrote.
Yes, indeed.
When I wrote that book, years ago, I was in deep research for the indigenous game, the indigenous astronomical story.
Okay.
And that story is called the Populva amongst the Maya. Popol.
Hold on 1 second.
Popolvuh. Populva. Popol.
Okay.
VUH.
Okay.
And just like the Shabaka Stone is set in the tone, in the story, it's told as it relates to the ever-evolving universe coming through the neteru, or the aspects of the creator. But in the Populva, they're playing a ball game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much like basketball. But their astronomical story is based in a story where the participants, the gods, the essences of the creator, is playing ball.
Yes, indeed. Mm.
So, and again, brother, when you go back to the to sports started in military arts.
Yes, indeed. I know you talked about that in spirituality before religion. The I forgot to call it the festivity of the pharaoh, which gave birth to the Olympics, as we know. Yeah, the Set Festival.
The Set Festival.
Absolutely.
SED Festival.
Right, right.
And the word Olympics comes from Nigeria.
Mm.
Remember I told you the brother that wrote the book, The Religion of the Yoruba, his last name was Olumide.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I wrote it down. Yes, sir.
One of the gods of Yoruba is called Olodumare.
Okay.
Olu is a word that found itself into the Mediterranean basin because the Olympics really was when African nations were competing with each other along the Mediterranean, which included the Africans in Sardinia, the Etruscans of Italy.
Yes, indeed.
When you go into the Greeks, the Africans there, and all this area in North Africa, they were competing sports-wise, but it really came, instead of fighting each other militarily, they turned it into a sport.
Absolutely.
And the word Olu, Oli, Ola comes from the word mountain, which is where you get the name Mount Olympus.
Okay.
This is us, family.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, Baba.
I am so proud of us, brother. I cannot help but be so proud of us and where we're headed as we go into the future.
Yes, indeed. Because like you say, it's not over until we win, Baba. It's not over until we win. And family, if y'all could, again, as a reminder, hit that Cash App at the bottom. I'm challenging everybody. We got 384 people. This is a record. I never had over 250. So 308, wow. we didn't crush the record. We've almost doubled the record tonight. So I appreciate the family for checking in, both on Baba Kaba's page and on my page. Appreciate the family. Let's go ahead and at least put everybody $10 for all the game, all the wisdom tonight. Make sure you go get all of Baba's books, The Life of William Leo Hansberry on Amazon, Spirituality Before Religion. You can get that from his website, www.kabane.com. And also the Shabaka Stone. Get all three, family. All three work off each other. All of them are a stepping stone. And in closing out, Bob, I want to ask you the last question because I could be talking to you all night. You know how we go, when we start talking. We already been on here, been on here about an hour and 40 minutes already. So the last question tonight, Baba, is can you talk to us about the spirit of resistance? Because a lot of people, especially when they look at foundational Black Americans, they don't understand the reason, the spirit our people have to keep fighting, to keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. A lot of people for a long time, I remember when Frederick Douglass was challenging people like Abraham Lincoln, said, man, we're not going nowhere. We're going to stay and fight. We built this country. This is where our family is. We're going to stay and fight, when he was trying to colonize and send us back. For a long time, people have been trying to get us to leave and to run, and we continue to stay and fight and arguably building one of the most advanced nations the world has ever seen. So can you tell us a little bit about our resistance? I know you were talking about earlier about your grandfather down in Alabama, and we've always had that fighting spirit because we almost get put into almost a victim mentality, in the sense that we can't defeat this enemy. When honestly, this enemy, we have been his military power, whether it be the Civil War. I know Abraham Lincoln said on several occasions that we couldn't have won the war without the Negro. In ancient Kemet, a lot of those martial arts systems that we have today come from that Muntu, and different guerrilla war style tactics. So can you talk to us about the resistance overall of our people and our ability to fight back? In closing.
Brother, the one story that we have to get to understand is what was going on in Africa, nation to nation, in terms of that war. It just wasn't when they captured us.
Right.
We were fighting them from the moment they stepped on our land.
Yes, indeed.
There has been resistance in us since the very beginning. And as we were brought to this part of the world, we still resisted them. We resisted them on the way to the west coast of Africa, into Elmina Castle and others. We resisted them when we were in the prisons. We resisted them when we were going from the prisons onto the ships.
Right, right.
We were fighting them on the ships. We fought them when we got to the Caribbean. We fought with them when we got onto the plantations. We have been fighting them every step of the way. And we have to understand that that battle is there.
Yes, indeed.
And we also have to understand that if you think you in a revolution or in a battle, and sisters are not thoroughly involved in that situation, if they are not a very important part of that resistance, that ain't no revolution.
Right.
That's a street fist fight.
Right.
True revolution got sisters involved.
Yes, indeed.
There we go.
The She Rose of the Haitian Revolution, we had Professor Bello on Monday. She was talking about how important sisters were to this revolution, that they couldn't have won it. And even on a military sense, because a lot of times we think of our women, I say black women are the only women who militarily have picked up arms and went to war, you know, and been some of the greatest soldiers the world has ever seen. You don't see that with any other racial group as much as you see it with the black woman.
Brother, there were times that the sisters were expert bow. Okay? They were bow people. There were sisters that chopped off their breast. Because you know the sister, black women, melanated women, are anatomically gifted.
Yes, indeed.
They got everything in the right place, just the right size. But sometimes things can get in your way.
Yes, indeed.
So in order for them to be able to pull that bow back past their body, they took their breast off. That's what you do when you want to be free.
Yes, indeed.
Okay? And the brothers went along with them, say, sis, okay, I'm with you. Sisters have been, brother, 80% of the Black Panther Party was women. When I got down into Louisville last week and they had their conference for Black Power Week,
right,
it was the sisters that organized everything. General Ahamara. She was the one that organized everything that I was going to do.
Yes, indeed.
Women have always been that central part. You see, men, the male energy inspires. Okay? But the women's energy shapes. The female energy shapes and forms the society. The male energy inspires it. So through inspiration and shaping, you create the civilizations that would create the pyramids or life on the plantation.
Yes, indeed.
Or hip-hop.
Yes, indeed.
Because another thing, one of the elements that's missing in hip-hop, although it's getting better now, is the role that sisters played in hip-hop. And not just, hip-hop is a culture. Rap is the evocation of it. But hip-hop is a culture. Hip-hop was born out of doo-wop. Doo-wop was born out of bebop. Bebop was born out of ragtime and rhythm and blues out of blues, blues out of spirituality, and spirituality came from Africa. Women have always been a dynamic force in everything that we've done. And for us to get caught up in this Indo-European perspective of the inferiority of a woman, of the weakness of a woman, yo, bro, let me tell you something. I've lived long enough to observe enough sisters go through their monthly cycle. For you just have to live like that, you got to be strong.
Right, right.
For you to be able to shape your life around that event, men don't ever have to worry about that. Every day is the same for us. But women have to chart their movements, where they're going, what they're going to wear according to their life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Just to do that, you got to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be emotionally, spiritually, physically, soulfully strong.
Yes, indeed.
And as brothers, we also have to understand, because if I may speak about this, I'm going to be doing my webinar, my first Sunday of the month webinar.
Absolutely. And that's at www.kabakamane.com.
Yes, you can go to my website and you can register, or you can go to the bio, the link in my bio,
Okay.
and you can register for it tomorrow.
Okay.
It's going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific time.
Make sure y'all do that, family. Make sure y'all do that.
Brother, wow, I'm so excited about this, because what I do is for my third book, Shabaka Stone, I dedicate a chapter every webinar. Every first Sunday, we go deep inside of one of the chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And the last chapter we did was on DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid.
Okay.
That is Shabaka Stone.
Shabaka Stone, family. Make sure y'all get this from Amazon.
Okay, that's an African theory on the cosmic origin of the universe.
Yes, sir.
But to understand that, I had a chapter on DNA. But in DNA, I started coming upon the information of Henrietta Lacks.
Right.
And I said, wait a minute, because I was going to go on to my next chapter.
Right.
But I said, no, I can't. I got to do our Empress, Henrietta Lacks. Mm-hmm. But then when I was doing the research on Henrietta Lacks, I found out that Dr. May Carroll Jemison was working with the HeLa cells, or Henrietta Lacks' cells, and took them in space. And then I found out in 1992 that they found that, first of all, the sister died in 1951, 71 years ago. She died at the age of 31. But what they found when they took samples of her cells survived. But not only did they survive, they started to multiply to a point where they couldn't explain, science couldn't explain why this woman's cells were expanding and growing. And then they took her cells into space. And Brother Chase and family, her cells multiply exponentially more in space than they do on Earth. That's why we are children of the sun. That's why we are starlings. We're not earthlings.
Yes, indeed.
Okay? And then I said, I got to do something on Mae Jemison, but those were the two female X chromosomes that we were studying. So tomorrow we're going to do something on panspermia.
Okay.
Pan means all, spermia, sperm means seed.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the male energy that's in the cosmos that impregnated the universe to bring forward life. Now we're going to get into the Y chromosome. But let me just drop this on you. I'm not going to say no more.
Right.
Remember when they found the mitochondrial DNA, the X chromosome that could trace all humans back to the female?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Well, now they found the Y chromosome that can bring all brothers back to the original human beings. 338,000 years ago, they have been able to trace a black man who happens to be from North Carolina.
Right.
They traced his ancestry back 338,000 years. I'm going to show you the evidence of this tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
So now we not only have the original Eve, we have the original Adam. And that's Shabaka Stone.
Yes, indeed.
Atum.
Yes, indeed.
The creative consciousness, the voice that brings all creation into existence. That's tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
And I realize some of us may have found out this evening. Tomorrow may be booked. You got things to do. But if you register, the replay will be sent to you, so you'll always be able to see it at your convenience.
Okay. Yes, indeed.
But family, we're not playing no more. And please, I would like to also end with this, because I don't know what your time is like.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm on you, Baba.
Okay, because I just want to say this. This CRT stuff and all the rest of this stuff, this critical race theory, okay, that's nonsense.
No. Right.
CRT is an advanced law class that you take in law school. You don't teach CRT.
Right.
But these folk are doing with CRT the same thing they did with desegregation. They're saying, you want to teach our children CRT. No, we don't want to teach your children CRT no more than we wanted to integrate with you.
Right.
That's your figment of your imagination. Okay? So they say, no, we don't want you to come into our schools. We don't want you to teach us how horrible we were. We don't want you to ask us what our children's great-grandparents were doing when they were stoning black people, because you're going to ask them, well, where was grandpa when they were stoning black people? Because I learned it in school, and grandpa was the one that was throwing the stones.
Right.
They don't want their children to know that.
Right.
And I don't blame them. I wouldn't want my children to know I come from a horrible group of people either. But
yes,
you know something else, Brother Chase? I don't want to teach their children.
It's a fact.
And I don't want to teach them.
Right. I've always said, Baba, I like playing in the Negro Leagues. I love playing in the Negro Leagues.
Hey, brother.
That's
cool where all the challenges.
Right. I'm cool with playing. I don't need to play in the major league. I'm cool playing with my people, getting support from my people. I don't lose no sleep at night. And in fact, Baba, honestly, when white folks come on my page and get mad at me, I actually sleep better because I know I'm doing some good work. I know I'm doing some good work. Go. Right.
And that's the bottom line, Brother Chase, to understand that and to know that. But what I say to them is, you have no right to stop me from teaching my own.
Yes, indeed.
And you know the other thing, Brother Chase, just to think of this philosophically and psychologically, in the school system, I've been with a lot of folk that got scholarships to travel into Connecticut from New York or Massachusetts from New York, or go to an elite school, as they say. But family, show me a community that feels that their children can become better outside of their community, and I'll show you a community that's doomed to fail.
Right.
Anytime we think that we have to send our children somewhere else to become better and that we can't do it in our own community, we have a problem. I'm saying that we have the ability, and again, my webinars every Tuesday, my webinars the first Sunday of the month and the third Sunday of the month is exactly what I did at the highest levels of staff development with principals and teachers all around the country and even parts of the world.
Right.
But now I'm at the point where I'm turning inward and I'm with the Negro Leagues now.
Absolutely.
And I'm coming to you directly.
Yes, indeed.
I'm coming to the voice of the ancestors and the group that's there. I'm coming to you, Brother Chase. I'm going to all the brothers and sisters that got these programs out here. I'm done with them. It's about us now. It's about this, where we are now. It's about this.
Right.
And that's what I've dedicated my life to. I don't want to teach you anything.
Right.
I don't want to beg you to understand my legacy.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you know who I am. I don't want to go into your community. I'm not going to try to force feed you information that your intellectual enzymes couldn't handle anyway, because anything that I would teach you, you'd probably throw up before you left the room.
Right.
You couldn't handle the truth. So I don't want to talk to them.
Yes, indeed.
I want to talk to you.
Blessings.
And I want to talk to who listens to you. I'm done with that now.
Right.
I'm dedicated to our people to develop this. So many other scholars are doing, as you've had, Dr. Bello and others that are doing this dynamic work.
Yes, sir.
But can I ask you a question, brother?
Oh, I'm all ears. Baba, go ahead.
Yeah, man, because I want to turn this around, brother. Because I want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I've been reading your books, bro. I'm so impressed with your knowledge, your wisdom, and your execution.
I'm blessed.
Brother, what was it that turned you around? What was there a single moment in your life before you wrote the book?
Right.
The event would lead you to write the book. But in your generation, your exposure, what was the turning point?
Right. I think, growing up where I grew up, born and raised in Atlanta, mostly black community. I probably went to school with 2 white kids. My one from pre-K to probably 12th grade, probably had 2 white kids in my class. The rest was all black. And when I got to college, I ended up going to college at Jacksonville State on playing football. I got invited there to play football in X, Y, and Z. And when I got hurt my freshman year, tore my ACL, blew out my knee. That was the first time I ever been hurt, Baba. And I realized that man, all these coaches that were loving on me, they were showing me love, all that went away. And I got really low after that. I got really low after that, Baba. And long story short, I got my surgery and went home back to Atlanta. And down here we have what we call the bootleg man. So the bootleg man has the DVDs. So he got all the DVDs in theaters, and here you pay him $5, he'll give you the DVD. Now it might not be as clear as in the movie theater, but you know, you can get the DVD. And one of the DVDs he kept trying to get me to get was, it happened to be Hidden Colors, and he kept trying to give it to me. I was like, nah, I'm good. You know, because I wasn't what we would call super conscious at the time. I'm a young brother. I'm probably 18 at the time, 18 going on 19. And I'm like, I don't want to get it. He said, brother, I'm going to give it to you for free. And just promise me you'll watch it. And Baba, I got back to school down depressed, and I'm like, man, it was free. I popped it in, and the rest was history. And from there, from 2014 to 2016, Baba, I went on this knowledge field journey. Then I ran across Baba, Dr. Claude Anderson, in his book, Black Labor, White Wealth. And I remember after reading that book, I looked in the mirror and said, listen, man, I got a choice to make. I can be somebody who has the knowledge but never shares it, or is afraid to speak out against certain things, or afraid to educate our people. Or I can, you know, make a statement on my own, and I can go out here and write it and touch at least my generation, because I understood that my generation might be more inclined to listen to me because I'm in their generation than maybe somebody of an elder generation who they think, oh man, this old man don't know what he's talking about. So, you know, that was my mission. Two things, like I say, Hidden Colors and Dr. Claude Anderson's Black Labor, White Wealth. That made me take a stand. And one of my gifts, one of the things I learned from sports, playing sports my whole life, Bob, I was never the fastest, never the biggest, never the strongest. But one thing about me, you can ask any coach that I played for, I was the most consistent. At 7 a.m., Chase was going to be out on that field 3 hours before practice, putting in work. At 7 p.m., 3 hours after practice, Chase was going to be out on that field, putting in work. And I always knew, even when I was writing that book, that I understand there's better scholars than me, but I'm going to consistently do it day after day, rain, sleet, or snow. I'm going to continue to work. I'm going to continue to get better. I'm going to continue to try to challenge myself each and every day. And that's the thing I love about consciousness. It never stops, Baba. It ain't no getting hurt in this. You know, I got hurt in football and took away my love for football, but I couldn't control it because I just got hurt. You know, that's part of the game. But this, I can do this to my grave, and, you know, even live on after my grave, so I can keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. It's no limits right here, you know. So that's what inspired me, you know, just to be one of those brothers in the younger generation that was putting out the knowledge, you know, at the end of the day, because I saw the beauty in our people. I saw our history that they were hiding. And like I said, it just motivated me to go out there, write my own book, and keep pushing.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate you.
And man, in a nutshell, brother, what you just said was one of your greatest attributes is that you keep on keeping on.
Right. That's why it hit so home.
But you know it ain't over till you win.
Yes, indeed.
You know you're heading somewhere. If each and every one of us had that as a way of living and thinking, the greatest dreams would not only be seen and experienced, but things that you can't even imagine will happen for you.
Right.
Things that were never in your plans will happen.
Right.
Because the ancestors and the Creator are trying to get you to come. And you're on a path, and on a human level, you're coming, but then all of a sudden, something spiritual comes over you.
Right.
You know, and you know what I'm talking about when I talk about fourth quarter drills.
Yes, indeed.
That point where you are physically have exerted every force that you think you got. And then all of a sudden you reach deep inside you.
Yes, indeed.
And you pull that other energy out that's even stronger than the energy that you have exerted, that the Creator keeps in you.
Yes.
Just in case you need that extra energy.
Right.
Fourth quarter drills. Our ancestors on the plantation had it. The civil rights and the human rights movement had it. You have it. I have it. We have it.
Right.
But if each and every one of us exerted and understood that power, we could do things that even we couldn't imagine.
Right, right.
You know, and then when I was a young man, brother, I was pissed. I was an angry black man. Young man. I was growing up in a world that I was saying, because I knew I was better than a lot of the people I was told that they were better than me.
Right.
And I was angry, man, and I wanted to do some stuff. But one day I was probably about maybe 17 years old, 18, somewhere in there. And a calming force came over me, man, because sometimes I would shake, I was so angry. Something came over me and calmed me down. And I'm not going to try to go into voices, and I heard voices, things like that. But the essence of what I felt, Brother Chase, as a young brother, angry at what the world was doing to us as a people. You know, we're dealing with the late 60s going into the 70s. Something came over me, and a consciousness came to me and told me, look, you do what you have to do for you and your people. Let me take care of them. Because I got something in store for them that even you can't imagine. And brother, something happened then. And that sort of kind of took things into another direction for me. And that's what brought me to where I am today. And as I observe what's happening to them now, I now understand what that creative energy in me meant when they said, I got something for them that even they cannot imagine is coming. And quite frankly, they're on the road to extinction.
Absolutely.
On many different levels. You can see it. That's why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
The question becomes, if in fact they are no longer here, what are we ready to do?
Right.
We got to get busy.
Yes, indeed.
Own your business.
Right.
Keep on keeping on. But congratulations, brother.
Blessings, Baba.
On all that you do, brother.
I appreciate that, Baba. I'm honored. And like I say, Baba,
Because I'm an
I'm a student of
investigative
yours.
reader, brother.
Say again?
Huh?
I said I'm a student of yours. You know, I'm just,
well,
I'm trying to run
brother,
the race as fast as you can, you know, so.
Well, brother, I believe that I am in, my future is much brighter knowing you.
Blessings.
Because I know you're going to take it to where it needs to be taken.
Yes, sir.
Because this is a phenomenal 3-volume set that I know will be expanded in time.
Yes, sir.
But I'm an investigative reader. I'm not just somebody that reads. I like to tear things apart and look at why the writer. See, my thing when I was teaching reading to children was not just read the book, but I want you to get into the author's head. And I want you to tell me why you think they even wrote the book. There's a reason why they wrote the book. There's a reason why the pictures are on the front cover.
Right.
There's a reason why the back cover looks the way it looks. Why do you think? So that's how I approach books. So I didn't approach your book just to read it for the information. See, there's a way to read books where it's information for information.
Right.
But the way you write and the programs you have information for transformation.
Blessings.
You know, when I read your book, you transform me. You transform me, brother. Your book had an impact on me. I'm telling you, brother.
Yes, sir.
When I opened up your book, I opened it up with all of the expectations that I was going to learn a whole bunch. And brother, you exceeded my expectations.
Blessings.
Blessings to you, brother. I'm proud of you, Brother Chase. Thank you for all that you're doing. And to all those that are listening, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us. Keep on keeping on. It ain't over till we win. Solar power.
Right.
Is the future wealth
yes,
of the
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Baba, listen, Baba, we appreciate you, family. Like I said, everybody, the Cash App is pinned down below. A $10 challenge. I'm challenging everybody to donate at least $10 on Baba's Cash App. If you're international, I know y'all use PayPal, so the PayPal is pinned down below. And most importantly, after you donate that 10, take it a step further. Make sure that you get the Life of William Leo Hansberry. And get those are only on Amazon, family, because somebody asked, why do we have to get them off Amazon? Especially if you're international, it's much cheaper and more efficient to get it to you on Amazon. You know, so me and Baba, myself, I'm working around the clock. I'm trying to get it to the family in UK where we can do it through a black source, but it's very expensive. International family, y'all know, it's like $80, but it's worth more than the book just to ship it. So make sure you get the Life of William Leo Hansberry on Amazon. Then you get Spirituality Before Religions, okay? And get Shabaka Stone. Family, these gonna keep you reading for the next 2 years. If you're really trying to grasp it, these gonna keep you reading for the next 2 years. So, you know, Baba, we appreciate you. We love you. We want to give you your flowers while you're here now. And we're gonna keep pushing, Baba. We're gonna keep pushing, we're gonna keep working, and we out here spreading a good message for you. Yes, indeed.
All power to the people.
Absolutely. Peace, Baba.
Peace to you, brother. Peace to the family.
Yes, indeed. Hotep. All right. So, hold on. Let me that. All right, family. That was Baba Kaba. Listen, where we at? 2 hours and 20 minutes of gems, family. Listen, I hope y'all appreciate it. I hope y'all appreciate it. 2 hours and 20 minutes of gems. Please, family, y'all know I only ask for the cash apps when the elders are on here dropping hot fire. You dig? That is a library. We just got an untapped library tonight that nobody can access but us in the chat room tonight. So please, family, put $10 on that cash app. Please, family. Just a quick 10. International family, use that PayPal, put $10. I already put 100 on there. Already put 100 on there. You know, we got to value that time. We know we go to other communities and pay white folks $2,000-$3,000 for their course, and they don't even teach us Egypt is in Africa. Okay, we pay $2,000-$3,000 for these college courses. I've been to college. I graduated from college. You take a $2,000-$3,000 history course, and the first day, these hunkies are teaching you Egypt is in the Middle East. Put $10 on that cash app, man. We got to teach ourselves. You dig? We got to teach ourselves. But listen, family, that's enough. I'm going to save this, put it on my YouTube channel. Voice of the Ancestors Chase is the YouTube. So make sure you go get that. Make sure you go watch the playback. Subscribe to that channel. Click the link in the bio if you want to get the Voice of the Ancestor series. I appreciate the kind words from Baba. So you can get the Voice of the Ancestor series. This is my official book series. And this is on the page, Voice of the Ancestors. You can get that from the link in the bio, family. If you're international, you have to get it off Amazon just because it's more efficient. But like I say, hit that $10. Y'all know I'm not lying, man. Anybody, you've been to history class in college, they got Egypt in the Middle East. Okay? And then when they highlight Egypt, they got Charleston Hillster around here playing the pharaohs. So come on now. Put $10 on that cash app, family. Please do that. Please do that. So I'm going to check in with Baba to make sure y'all did that. But until next time, family, it's your brother Chase. I'll probably go live maybe Monday or Tuesday. But until next time, man, y'all know what it is, man. Peace and black power. In the words of Baba Kaba, this shit is not over till we win. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep working that jab, working that body, and coming up to the head. Y'all know what it is, man. It's your brother Chase. I'm out.